It's important to understand the difference between detachment, devotion, and surrender when it comes to understanding how to get out of the doom loop. Because a lot of people are Doomermaxxing right now, and they don't even know that they're Doomermaxxing. Now, what's interesting though is that to one person, what looks like Doomermaxxing can actually be just them realizing how deep the rabbit hole goes. Because when you're actually Doomermaxxing, you get to a point to where you Doomermaxx so hard that you come out of it and you just see the reality for what it is. But you have to ride on the thin line between madness and genius in order to do that. And a lot of people just simply are not capable of that. They're too caught up in the fear. And they don't know how to actually look at the devotion, look at the detachment, and look at the surrender. So the detachment is just about the act of letting go. Can you actively let go of things? Okay, then devotion. Well, can you be inspired to devote yourself into love? And I'm not saying love is in the hippy dippy love, okay? Because truth is love, and sometimes the truth is not always pretty, but it is good to honor that which is beautiful, okay? There's nothing wrong with that, but it's to surrender. Devotion is a surrendering into the act of living the truth. Let's say it like that. Whereas simply surrendering is just the submission to God's will. And a lot of people want to believe that they have their own destiny that they can create. And they believe that you can control the reality however you want. You can bend the fabric of the universe however way you want. Now, it's true that you can actually bend reality to your will, but only insofar as it is in accordance to God's will. And something that I was thinking about tonight is how I know for a fact, if I wasn't a follower of Christ, I would be able to get out there right now and I'd be able to make all the money that I wanted. I know I could manipulate people if I really wanted to, because I know the psychology of people. I know how people respond. I know that people respond to either fear or self-interest for the most part. And having a high truth preference, though, is not really compatible with living that lifestyle. And I have a high truth preference as far as my outlook of life. I'm not a doomer, but I understand the doomers. I understand where they're coming from, because a lot of them are seeing things, but they can't articulate how they're seeing things or why they're seeing the things that they do. They want the doom and gloom because they do have the desire to see the truth. They have the desire to live the truth, but they have a low truth tolerance. Okay, they don't really, because they don't want to accept that the egoic form of whatever they've created in their mind is not actually true or not actually correct. And it would shatter their version of reality, because if you've built a version of reality in your mind and you've attached your identity to that reality, when that reality becomes no more, like you can see that there are fallacies or fallibilities in that reality that you've attached your identity to, well, then your identity starts to come apart. And that's where you start to kind of lose yourself, right? You have to reframework. And this is what's so difficult with people who have been duped or fooled or manipulated, right? And God knows I've been fooled and I've been manipulated. And even within the last few months, it's like, I know what to look out for. And I've seen things that I genuinely believe that this person that from a few months ago was a construct devised using AI to entice me into being in a relationship of some kind with this person. The person themselves was real, but it was a construct. It was kind of like this. It was literally like a character. They were an actor or an actress. It was just this show, and it's becoming more and more sophisticated, and it's really frightening in some ways, because it's like you can't really trust anything you see on the screen anymore, is what it seems like. And my aim is to ensure that I don't edit, okay, I don't edit these videos, right? I don't edit these videos for a reason, because that gives you guys insight onto who I really am and what I'm about, because I'm a fallible human being. I'm not perfect. I might stutter every now and again, or I might have trouble conceptualizing an idea or trying to get it out there, but I'm going to ultimately do my best to ensure that you guys are not only entertained, but also getting educated, and your mind is being opened and your heart is being opened as well, or maybe softened is a better way to put that. Because the thing is like, you've got to stay, as David Goggins says, you got to stay hard, bro. You got to stay hard, because even the women out there, to some degree, I don't think that women need to be, godlike savages per se, like I think men need to be godlike savages, but they need to be able to have a backbone. They need to be able to know if a person's manipulating them or not. And women are very impressionable. And so it seems to me like when women get caught up with like the national trauma or the national psyops that are going on, or the doom and gloom, they kind of have a hard time recalibrating themselves if the man that they're with or the men in their lives are not calibrated to God and his will. And so a woman might naturally start to awaken more, but she doesn't have a man to really ground her. And the only person that can really ground her is Jesus Christ himself. And even then, it's only going to be optimal for a woman to, like, this is just reasonable, right? This is just reasonable that a man who is channeling and being a vessel of God's will is going to ground a woman more in her own life, naturally. Just being there, right? Just by being a godly man. And that woman is going to be able to, okay, I can calm down. I don't need to think about this stuff. Because I don't want, like my woman, for example, my woman doesn't need to be thinking about this stuff. She needs, like the doom and gloom and all that. She needs to be aware of what's happening, yes. She needs to be intuitive enough to know what's going on in the world, yes. But she doesn't need to know all the details. She just doesn't. That's my job, so that I can lead where we need to go and how we need to get there. But all of these Doomermaxxers, I really don't know what to say to you guys, because it seems like this needs to be addressed, but I really don't know how. I don't know how to address it. Because I could sit here and I can manipulate you, and I can tell you all these sweet nothings that tickle your ears about the fear that's going on in the world. But I have to say, things are really, like, yes, they're pretty bad. It's looking worse by the day, it seems like. But we have to recognize too that this is all part of whatever's going on. Like, I don't think even all of it is part of the plan, right? I think it's just that evil out there. Like, there's just some things that are just that bad, to where it's so conglomerated and messy that it's just that, that's all that it is. It's not because of a plan. Now, some of it, in fact, I would say most of it is a plan, yes. But we have to recognize that some things are just bad because they're just bad. Like, they haven't been taken care of, or they haven't been maintained properly or anything like that. And all we can do is try to be that light. Jesus Christ says that we are the salt of the earth. We are who are chosen. And this is where, again, I could tickle your ears and I could tell you how much of a victim you are and how hard it is to be in the light and all that stuff. And it is hard to be in the light. But would you really want it any other way? Are you kidding me? This is a blessing. Or do you know how valuable it is? Do you know what a blessing it is to be able to see the light for what it is? Do you know what a blessing it is to be able to see with discernment? Do you know what a blessing it is to see the evil and the corruption, and to be able to detach from that and be devoted to Jesus Christ? Do you know what a blessing that is? Okay, that in of itself is so powerful. And so many people are wanting to believe that they're the victim, that they're this person that can't do something about their reality. I've even had people tell me on my channel, like, oh, you're not making a difference. You can't make a difference. Your behavior is pathetic. I don't know what kind of keyboard warrior thinks that they need to be, going about telling people this, but it's like, you're part of the doom and gloom, man. And you're here thinking that you're doing well. I mean, I don't know what to say to these people. I don't know how to help these people because they don't want help. They have a low truth preference and they don't want to do the right thing. Now, you can work with somebody that maybe has a low truth preference but wants to do the right thing, because that's an internal struggle that they're dealing with. It's not because they want to hurt you or they want to see you do something. It's just, it's internal. Don't take it personally. And then you have people that have high truth preferences and they want to do the right thing. Wow, those are amazing people to be around. Those are fantastic people to be around because they want to do well, and they want to do well because they want to be in the truth. Living the truth in of itself is a blessing as well. It is such a blessing to be able to wake up knowing that, you know what, I'm not perfect, and I do genuinely want to see the good in people, and maybe sometimes I can be a bit naive, but honestly, that naivete has given me the knowledge and the wisdom through experience to see what the reality really is and how to help people. Unfortunately, we're not going to be able to help everybody that's Doomermaxxing right now. We're just not. Living in a world full of Doomermaxxers, like I've said this before over the past week, and I still continue to get this feeling. I'm under a tree with Jesus, and I'm watching people stroll into hell, and I call out to these people, telling them that they can come sit with me and Jesus under the tree. And it's like they're just completely deaf, even though they look at me as they're chained, going into the fire, and they look at me and they have the power to break off those chains. They have the power to break off those chains, and they hear me and they see me, but they think it's like not real. Like they think that Jesus is not real. I even saw a comment recently that said like, oh, I tried the Jesus thing and it didn't really work out for me. It's like, well, what do you mean you tried the Jesus thing? What is the Jesus thing? Did you read the Bible? Did you try praying? Like, what exactly did you do? The thing is you're going to have to make an honest effort with whatever you do. So if you're going to do something, go all in with it. That's my best recommendation. I don't give advice anymore. But I've had questions like this where it's like, well, what do I do when XYZ? It's like, go all in on it. If you have a vice, go all in on it. See how far you can get before you want to not do that vice anymore. If you had, like, okay, I had a lot of pizza and ice cream. I used to be very fat, right? If I had like 3 boxes of pizza and like 2 pints of ice cream and brownies and whatnot, like I'd feel sick for like the week, right? I'd want to be eating broccoli and chicken. I would want to be doing these things. Vice and virtue are like a circle. And I've talked about this in my book, The Book of Oldishness, where vice and virtue are like a circle. If you lean too far into the virtue, it becomes a vice. If you lean in too far to the vice, well, then it becomes a virtue. Because if you're doing something because, oh, I'm so holy, eventually you're going to get to where you're restricting things. And you're going to be purposefully, like, your own holiness is actually just a disguise for control. Then on the flip side, if you're like super liberal and hyper liberal and all, and I don't mean liberal as in like left-right paradigm conservative, that's not what I'm saying. I'm talking about liberal as in like you're very free with all of your actions, like you're too free. You have that buffet style approach to everything where you just eat as much as you can wherever you can. whatever. Okay? You're going to get sick of that if you go all in on it after a while, because you're going to realize that you can't be anything and everything all the time. You all is one and one is all. Yes. But when I say that, people who are still stuck in like the occult or the alchemy thing, like they don't quite understand what I'm actually saying. They hear the words, but they don't really get it, because they think in this form of solipsism like a woman, and they think that, oh, that means that I'm the center of the universe. It's like, no, you're the center of your reality. You're the focal point of your reality, but reality is reality still. So there's like a meta reality, and then there's reality. And the meta reality is the collective consciousness, you might say. And you have the metaphysics of everything. The concrete reality is just actually the physical and the actions and what people are saying and how people are saying it, etc. But like the material world is very much more concrete for sure. But people, when I say that all is one is all, they think, oh, materially, even though they might not think that they're thinking materially, they're actually thinking materially. And this is what's so difficult to communicate with the Doomermaxxers and just people that are striving to be on the path but have that low truth preference. They want to be on the path, but they have a low truth preference. They don't want to acknowledge the truth of the situation. They don't want to acknowledge that things might be and could be better than they actually are. So, and better as in not like more luxurious, more wholesome, and more whole in general. Because I will say that, again, I could absolutely, with my ambition, I could go out there and I could just start manipulating people, and I could probably create some psyops. I'm that crazy. But I'm not going to, because that's not who I am. That's not what I'm about. I have a high truth preference, and I want to live in the truth. I want to win souls for Jesus, but I'm not going to tickle people's ears doing it. I'm going to plant seeds, yes, and I'm not going to be stupid about it, but I'm also not going to be the person that's like, oh, you're a victim and everything is everybody else's fault because, well, you're chosen. That's not who I am, and that's never going to help anybody. Okay, so all these people that are out there that are tickling your ears, telling you how amazing you are and how everybody envies you and everybody's jealous of you. Yes, that can be the case, absolutely. You can be intimidating and because of your mysteriousness, absolutely. And people do envy the people that are growing, absolutely. But don't get caught up with that. Okay, don't stop Doomermaxxing without knowing you're Doomermaxxing. Okay? You gotta know your Doomer, and if you're gonna Doomermaxx, go all in, because you're gonna see like life is actually not that bad. All right. So with all that being said, join the Regal Change Academy, set up a one-on-one mentorship call with me, or sign up for the one-on-one Godlike Mastery program that I have, because that's gonna help you develop a Godlike mindset. And I'm not for people that are just wanting to wishy-wash their way through life. I'm for people that are actually wanting to do something and actually wanting to commit to something and to really inspire people to live in a way that is authentic and true to them and to Jesus Christ ultimately. Because it's not about your truth, it's the truth. I don't like your truth or anything like that. I don't like that. I don't like talking about that, because yes, your experience is to be trusted above anybody else's, for sure, no doubt. But your experience and the truth, sometimes those don't always co-align, okay? Because sometimes what you experience is a lie, okay? Sometimes what you experience is a lie. And you have to recognize that, and you have to ask for discernment in order to see that. I mean, that's what manipulation is, right? Like, people manipulate because they want you to live in a lie. They want to wipe away your life force, and they want to aura farm you. So keep that in mind, all right? Peace be with you. Until next time.